If you're gonna protect yourself from an armed robber, armed with a firearm especially, you gotta have those 5Ds plus one down pat. Hi everyone, this is John with today's active self-protection lesson from Meridian, Mississippi. It shows us here an armed robbery that ends very badly for the victim. He dies in this incident, so viewer discretion is advised. Teaches us some important lessons here about how armed robberies go down, about if you choose to protect yourself against an armed robber, you gotta have those empty-handed skills. Those 5Ds plus one are incredibly important, and teaches us a reminder about our spiritual fitness. This young man, a recent immigrant from India, is the clerk at the store here. A guy just comes up, puts a gun to the back of his head, and now he's going to drive this guy back. And the guy's, pretty compliant here at the beginning and trying to get him his stuff, having a little bit of a hard time getting into the register. But when he finally does, he sees an opportunity, goes for it to take the guy's gun, but that ends up very bad for him because he's not able to take the gun from the armed robber. And so because he's not the armed robber, shoots him. And so now this clerk is writhing in agony while the armed robber decides to take the cash out of the till and take the stuff from the bottom and run off. Now, our clerk here is still dealing with the aftermaths of being shot in the abdomen, and he's going to get up here and he's going to try his best to call 911. But if you go read the news story that's curated on our website, unfortunately, he does not make it in this instance. We're going to see him try and then pass out here because of the pain and the blood loss, and his life, unfortunately, is over. There are 8 lessons out of this one that we have put on our website, so make sure that you click through the description, the link in the description, but let's talk about some of them here as well. First of all is that ambush there. He was aware. I don't know that he was doing anything wrong there, but guy comes and pulls a gun on you. If you don't have the attitude and the skills and the plan to defend yourself against an armed robber, your best bet is compliance. But if you do, now what you're going to see here is he decides that's his opportunity to launch a counter ambush. And launching a counter ambush many times in an armed robbery because you've waited your turn is the right way to go. So he sees that gun and goes for it, but unfortunately what happens there is you can see his right hand has slipped off. He tried to grab the gun and just dominate the tool. It was deflected from him already. But unfortunately, then he did not dominate the entire arm with that tool in it, so the bad guy was able to pull it back, and now you can see him there using that left hand as a leveraging arm. And that will work against you if you're trying to practice those 5Ds, deflect and then dominate, distract, but you can't dominate because of that leveraging arm. And so he sends that gun into orbit, and it comes right back around and orbits back around to him. You can see him using that leveraging arm, which you don't see very often with the forearm, but that did happen here because of the close quarters. And so now that guy's able to shoot him. So you got to dominate, folks. You got to go through those 5Ds appropriately. Now we talk about, spiritual fitness here, friends, because you don't know when that day comes ahead of time a lot of times, unfortunately. So you want to be right with your family, your loved ones, right with God, because you don't know when the last day is. But in this instance, I also want to talk as well about first aid skills and about a willingness to stay up and to do everything you can. This guy's got a lot of guts, and I give him a lot of props for that, for staying awake as long as he can, for getting on the phone with 911. Learn some first aid skills as well. And unfortunately, let's learn the lessons of the 5Ds here of fighting effectively if we choose to fight against an armed robber so that we can cover our ASP.